Today we are going to kind of mix in house hacking with the 1031 exchange, and we're going to use the examples that we used from earlier this week. This is really going to kind of show you the power of house hacking and leverage and using real estate to your advantage. A quick summary of the 1031 exchange. It's a tax deferral strategy that allows investors to take those proceeds when they sell the property and roll those into another property and avoid the capital gains tax when you sell. And to be clear, this is deferring the capital gains. It's not a deduction. You will later have to pay these capital gains at some point. It's just deferring it to a later date. But to qualify for a 1031 exchange, the properties involved must be of the same nature, and the replacement property or the next property that you purchase with those proceeds must at least be identified within 45 days of when you sell the initial property to collect those proceeds, and the total value of the replacement property or the next property must be equal to or greater than the net sales price of the property you just sold. Also, within those 45 days of having to identify the next property, you must close on the next property within 180 days. This all might be going over your head a little bit, but don't worry, we're going to go through some examples from the previous video that I made earlier this week. But before I dive into those 3 examples, let me just make this clear. This is not financial advice, and I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a real estate attorney. You 100% should contact a lawyer or a real estate attorney that specializes in real estate law. This is just for example purposes, and I've dummied all these numbers down just to make it easier to understand. There may be other specific requirements and qualifications in order to fully go through with a 1031 exchange. But on to the first example of when you first started house hacking. Bought the property, and after 10 years, you decided to sell. If you remember, on our $200,000 property, we used a 2% average annual appreciation rate over those first 10 years. And the home value, or the value your property would have with 2% appreciation over 10 years, would come out to around $244,000. Your loan balance was around $152,000. So when you sell, your equity would be around $92,000. And instead of taking that $92,000 and pocketing it, getting taxed on the capital gain there, we're going to 1031 exchange this property. So following the 1031 exchange guidelines, in this example, to properly defer the gains or defer this $92,000 you're going to get when you sell, you would need to then find a $244,000 property or higher in value within 45 days of selling that property. From there, you have to close on your next property that you identified within 180 days, and you must use your $92,000. So to be clear, you are now using your house hacking properties to scale to purchase investment properties. So we are not at this time able to use owner-occupied financing. It will now be investment financing on these next 5 purchases. So with that, you typically need 20% down on this. So with your $92,000 that you're using as a down payment on this next property, in theory, each of these next 5 properties can have a purchase price as high as $460,000. You take $92,000, your down payment, divided by 20%. So after each 10-year time frame, if you receive $92,000 on each of those 5 house hack properties that you purchase, you can essentially go purchase a $460,000 property each year for the next 5 years. So here are some crazy stats. In this example, if you bought a $460,000 property for the next 5 years, after each 10-year time frame, $460,000 times 5, you essentially just bought $2.3 million worth of real estate. Don't forget, this all sourced from your initial $10,000 down payments on each of those first 5 properties. Now, scenario 2, if you remember, this is 20 years after purchasing those first 5 properties. The home value on each of those properties after 20 years came out to around $298,000 with 2% appreciation per year on those 20 years. Our loan balance was close to $79,000. So our equity after those 20 years, $298,000 minus $79,000 came out to around $220,000 in equity for what you'd receive when you sell. So following suit, your next 5 properties with those proceeds of $220,000 each, the value of those next properties or the replacement properties have to be $298,000 or more. And you must identify this property within the first 45 days of the sale, then close on that replacement property or the next property within 180 days from there. With your $220,000 in equity used as a down payment, each of these next 5 properties can have a purchase price as high as $1. 1.1 million. 220,000 divided by 20%. This example, if you did this for these 5 properties, if all of these are 1.1 million, your next 5 properties can total up to an accumulated value of $5.5 million. And yep, you guessed it, came from your initial $50,000 on those initial 5 properties when you first were house hacking. So scenario 3, if you held these for the full 30-year loan term, our home value for each of those 5 properties came out to around $363,000 after 30 years with a 2% appreciation rate per year on average. Now you own it outright, no more loans. So your $363,000 in equity once you sell these properties after year 30 can essentially buy you a $1.8 million or a little bit over $1.8 million worth on each property for the next 5 years. 363,000 divided by 20% comes out to a little over 1.8 million. If you did this for all 5 properties and maxed out that purchase price, you just bought a touch over $9 million worth of real estate. And you might be thinking there's no way that this is legal. There's no absolute way that this is legal, but it is. In fact, the IRS encourages it. The government wants people to invest in America. And this is one of those incentives, tax deferrals that benefit the economy more than it would taking the capital gains off of a single sale today, or the single tax that you would pay otherwise if you did not 1031 exchange. I could go down a huge rabbit hole if I keep going, so I'm just going to end with this. This is one of the hundreds, if not thousands of ways not only house hacking can catapult your wealth, but real estate in general. There's no other investment vehicle that can do this, which is why so many people find success in real estate and real estate investing. So thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. You know where this is going. Please like, subscribe, share this with your teacher. Actually, maybe not, because they don't teach this stuff in school. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.